Do you like animation? Do you like action? Are you a huge fan of Michael Jackson? Well, too bad, because we're not talking about Demon Slayer today. Well, unless you want me to. Wait. Hello everyone, Andrew here, and I'm here today to talk about Agent Elvis, an adult action animated show that just recently debuted on Netflix. It was created by Sony Pictures Animation, and while their track record isn't all that great, they've been making some pretty good films lately, like Into the Spider-Verse and The Mitchells vs. the Machines. So is this a good show, you may ask, or did Elvis have to leave the building? Well, let's find out by discussing this show. Agent Elvis is a show that follows this one character that I think no one has ever heard of. His name is Elvis Presley. Not sure if he rings a bell or not. Apparently he's one of the biggest stars in music in his era, which is when this show takes place. I don't know. Anyways, you follow Elvis as he joins a secret government spy program to take on foes that threaten the country. While this does sound like a studio combining two different ideas into one show, surprisingly, some of the events in the show are inspired by real-life events. Back in 1970, Elvis did meet with President Nixon at the White House, where he expressed interest in wanting to help the U.S. fight back against the dangers of drug culture. He was also a committed karate student and instructor who actually received a 7th degree black belt. So yeah, the idea of Elvis becoming an agent isn't too far-fetched off. I mean, how can you one up that possibility? JFK not being assassinated? That's funny. I mean, they wouldn't fake the moon landing too, right? What? So you're telling me that everything's been a lie? What the heck? So is Michael Jackson somehow still alive? Were the flat earthers actually right this whole time? Are birds even real? Ah! I've been informed that everything that I previously stated has been false. JFK was assassinated, the moon landing was in fact real, Michael Jackson has long been dead, the earth is round and not flat, and no, birds are actually real. I must now direct you to this footage of a monkey doing a funny trick. Monkey. So going back to the show itself, the premise of the story works really well, and the action that happens here makes you want to watch more in order to see what kind of stuff Elvis does next. There is humor in this show, but very little of it. And even so, not all the jokes were that funny, so don't be expecting clips from this show to be circulating online while a mobile phone gameplay gets shown at the bottom of the screen. I don't even know why these are a thing. Another thing that I like about this series is the style of animation. With the show having a ton of action, and considering that the show is supposed to take place in the 60s, it makes sense to stylize the animation to make it look like you're watching a comic book coming to life. It's so refreshing to see adult animation do something different, and not do the cheap ugliness you see in many adult animated shows today. Thank goodness. The fight scenes here were actually well choreographed, and it's fun seeing Elvis and others take down some of the baddies with fists and guns. Speaking of which, the supporting characters don't overstay their welcome in this show. They're not fantastic by all means, but they fit well within the story. You have CC Rider, who's the agent that tries to get Elvis to join the agency and eventually becomes his co-worker. Bobby Ray, who is Elvis Presley's naive but loyal sidekick. Birdie, who is seen as a mother figure to Elvis. And finally, Scatter, who is Elvis Presley's chimpanzee that gets to all kinds of mischief. Oh yeah, you know how I said earlier that some of the events in this show are inspired by real-life events? Well, as it turns out, Elvis did actually had a chimpanzee at one point named Scatter. Man, Elvis must be one crazy guy. I won't talk much about the ending here just so you can avoid spoilers, but man, if you do watch the ending, you'll be on one heck of a ride. Oh, I should probably address this as well, but I know many of you are probably thinking that this show sounds a whole lot like Archer. And yeah, while I do understand the similarities these two shows have, I think Agent Elvis does things differently enough that both shows can stand easily by themselves. I mean, I would say that Archer takes things more of a comedic approach while Agent Elvis takes things more of an action approach. Plus, you do get to hear some Elvis music, which is something that Archer can't compete with. So to wrap things up here, I think the show is worth watching in my opinion. Even coming from someone who's not that big of an Elvis fan to know some of the references the show has, I still enjoyed watching it the whole way through. If you are an Elvis fan though, great! I think the show will be a fun time. Even when you think that the Elvis biopic from last year was enough Elvis for you, this show gives a unique fun twist into the later years of Elvis's life. Plus, there are a ton of references to the era itself that I think you enjoy spotting all the characters who are relevant in this era. But going through all of that, I think this really shows how dedicated the crew was into making this show as good as it can be. Heck, they even brought in Priscilla Presley to not only voice herself, but to also have a creative role in developing the show. All of this care put in the final result we got makes it feel like it's worthy to don the name of the King of Rock himself. Anyways, I'm Andrew, and remember to stay animated, Indiana. I'm about to explain what the show is. Just hold your horses, JJ.
Okay, have you been able to hear JJ every time?
No, just that one time.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Animation Nation. This is Carson Zadroga. I'm here to talk about Kevin Conroy, who recently passed away on November 10th, 2022. For all of those who don't know, Kevin Conroy was a voice acting legend who played Batman for 30 years. For context, he started playing Batman when George Bush Sr. was president. Yeah. If you have interacted with any animated Batman-related media, it's very likely that Kevin Conroy was the voice behind the Bat. Because of his recent passing away, and because he's so important to the hearts of many people, I figured it's time we talk about the man who defined Batman for generations. I will go into his life, career, and legacy in this segment. Conroy was born in Westbury, New York in 1955. His family later moved to Westport, Connecticut. His family life was tumultuous. His father was an alcoholic, and this caused Kevin to have a strange relationship with his father, but they later made up. Conroy was both at his mother and father's side when they passed away. Conroy moved to New York City because he got a full scholarship to attend Juilliard School's drama division. At the college, he roomed with none other than Robin Williams. Yes, Mrs. Doubtfire was a college roommate with Batman. I'm not lying. He studied under actor John Houseman. He graduated in 1978. After college, he got roles in plays like Death Trap and a daytime soap opera called Another World. He then moved to California, where he would be in live production of Edward Albee's adaptation of Lolita and Eastern Standard. In Eastern Standard, he played a role of a TV producer secretly living with AIDS. To prepare for this role, he went to many funerals with a sense of obligation. This was important to Conroy because he was gay, which is something that I will discuss a little later. In the 80s, he went into film and television. He played a gay lawyer named Bart Falmon on Dynasty and a series regular on O'Hare. He also started as a guest character in a show like Cheer, Matlock, and Murphy Brown. Now it is time to get into the character Kevin Conroy is most well known for playing, Batman. He first played Batman in Batman the Animated Series that ran from 1992 to 1995. In this role, Kevin played the playboy, philanthropist, and billionaire Bruce Wayne, who commits his life to stop crime and violence after his parents were murdered right in front of his eyes. He's actually the first voice actor to alter his voice tone between portraying Bruce Wayne and Batman. He voices the alter ego of Batman as though he was a different person. The only other Batman actor to do this before Conroy was Michael Keaton in Batman 1989 and 1992. Conroy based his dual voice performance on Leslie Howard in the 1934 film The Scarlet Pimpernel. The Batman animated series was a lot more grounded and darker take on the Caped Crusader. Most other superhero shows were low budget and campy, which is not a bad thing, but Batman could certainly be darker and more mature. The environment was darker and the stakes were higher. Fans loved it. Everyone loved it. Today, Batman the Animated Series is often considered the best superhero cartoon of all time. Part of that is because of Kevin Conroy's voice as Batman. Because of the show's big success and Conroy's voice acting in the series got a sequel show and a spinoff. The sequel of the show was Batman and Robin: The New Adventures that starred the Tim Drake version of Robin. The sequel show was Batman Beyond, where old man Batman needs to train a young man to become the new Batman of the future. Kevin gives a performance of an old Batman who acts as a wise and tactical teacher. He would play even more Batman roles like in Justice League Unlimited, Superman the Animated Series, Static Shock, and dozens of spin-off films like the theatrical film Batman Mask of the Phantasm. There were other direct-to-video movies where he also played Batman in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, Superman Batman Public Enemies, Justice League Doom, Batman the Killing Joke, and so much more. Conroy even made a guest appearance as the character in Teen Titans Go and Scooby-Doo and Guess Who. He was also in all of the Arkham games too. He is the longest person to play Batman ever. Kevin's resume must be huge. Do you think he wrote down every time he played Batman on his resume? That must be like 12 pages of experience. His last role as the character would be in the not yet released Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League video game. Other last roles would be in the online game Multiverses, Justice League vs. the Fatal Five, and the live action appearance on CW event Crisis Aftermath. Kevin Conroy might have played a superhero on screen, but in real life he acted like a real hero too. After the September 11th, 2001 attacks, Conroy participated in a relief effort by volunteering to cook for police officers and firefighters. During his service to the damaged New York City, he would recite the lines,
"I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman."
His line was cheered and applauded by the emergency service personnel. The other thing to discuss is that Conroy is gay. He publicly said so in 2016, and he spoke about how he made efforts to conceal his sexuality due to the discrimination he faced. At the time of his passing, he was married to Vaughn C. Williams. He died at Mount Sinai Hospital from a battle with colorectal cancer on November 10th, 2022, at the age of 66. Upon his passing, DC Comics gave a free online access to Finding Batman as a way to honor Conroy. This book gives detail about his life as a gay man and his struggles. His co-stars like Mark Hamill, who played Joker, and Tim Daly paid tribute to him on social media. Mark Hamill has announced that he will not be playing Joker anymore because he and Conroy always did projects together. Overall, Kevin Conroy is a legend to many people. He has defined Batman for millions. His commitment to the role is inspiring, and his heart in helping out others who needed it showed that Kevin Conroy was committed to the values that his character had. Everyone is mourning him, his death, but is also remembering what he gave to us. Kevin Conroy is an inspiration figure to all. Later, DC would make many characters attached to the Batman franchise who would be part of the LGBTQ+ community. Batwoman in the New 52 would be in a relationship with a woman, and Tim Drake Robin was revealed to be bisexual. Kevin Conroy certainly left an impact on the face of animation, comics, and media, while being a great person. To quote producer Paul Dini, Kevin brought a light with him everywhere. Whenever in the recording booth, giving it his all, or feeding first responders during a 9/11, or making sure that every fan who ever waited for him had a moment with their Batman, a hero in every sense of the word. Irreplaceable, eternal. I am Carson Zerdroga from Animation Nation, signing off and giving a farewell to a voice acting legend. You stay animated, Indiana. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy.
Could you stay with me? I'm scared.
I just want to mention before we start, I mentioned this to you, Carson, but I just think it's really funny. Ezra Miller, for a period of time, if you were in Hawaii, you were more likely to be attacked by Ezra Miller than you were to be attacked by a shark.
You have told me about that. It is funny.
It's so funny to me.
It is
that
funny.
Ezra Miller was more dangerous than the entire shark population in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sports. One of America's favorite pastimes and the cornerstone of American entertainment. Who doesn't like watching a bunch of sweaty people get together and mess around for a few hours? Whether it be swimming or football, horse riding or golf, everyone has a favorite sport. But sports aren't inherently American. While we certainly put our athletes up on a pedestal, every country has some form of athletic pastime of their own. You got England's football, or as we call it, soccer, okay? Canada's hockey, and so many others. But you know who else really likes sports? Japan. And just like us, this is shown heavily in their media. Today, I'm going to be introducing you to the wide and varied world of sports anime. Now, the first thing you may be asking is, why does Japan love sports so much? And why make anime out of it when you can just watch sports? And that's a good question. Here in America, we really don't focus on sports in our fictional media compared to our live broadcasts. The main thing that separates our view of sports from Japan is culture. You see, in America, we love competition. We love seeing our favorite team or favorite player go out there and kick some. And that shows in our every man for themselves society. In Japan, everyday life is more about teamwork both on and off the field. People will live their own lives, but they'll also do what they can to help out others within their workplace, school, neighborhood, etc. This focus on being part of a team in daily life is what led to sports taking over fictional media in Japan, as a lot of people are able to relate to being part of a team on a daily basis. Also, one of the most popular forms of Japanese storytelling is shonen, which is a genre that consists of action-packed scenes usually made for young male audiences. And sports fits really well into that genre. Just about every young man out there has played a sport at some point. With all of that in mind, let's get into some examples and recommendations, starting off with one of the most famous sports anime out there, Haikyuu.
僕らは等しく バレーボールへの挑戦者だ。
Haikyuu follows Shoyo Hinata as he overcomes his short stature on the Karasuno High School volleyball team. Teaming up and befriending his once rival Tobio Kageyama, they go on to make a name for themselves as they try to win back the glory their school once had. This show is a classic example of teamwork, as while Hinata is our main character, everyone on the team gets their time to shine and grow. Even the rival teams get a lot of character building, as many of the players end up being rivals or character foils for our main cast. Okay, one of the rival setters, Oikawa, he was featured on a Japanese magazine cover all about villains. Like, he's up there with literal murderers, and this guy is just really good at volleyball. That's all he does. I love it. One of my favorite parts of this show is how they build suspense. Sure, you want to assume that the team the show is focusing on is going to win, but in the end, you never know. This is something that sports anime does well. As a normal shonen anime, losing usually means dying. In sports anime, the teams lose and then have to accept what that means. And no show does this better, in my opinion, than Haikyuu. Except for maybe my next recommendation, Ace of Diamond. Ace of Diamond is a lot more personal to me, as while it isn't very well known overall, it's one of my favorites. We follow our main character and pitcher, Sawamura Eijun, as he joins the Seido High School baseball team. It follows a very similar plot to Haikyuu, as our team tries to bring back the fame their school once had. However, I personally prefer Sawamura's character arc compared to Hinata's. Sawamura wants to be the ace of the team, yet for a while he barely plays in games and doesn't get to be a starting pitcher. He also goes through a lot of struggles and still manages to bounce back and get better at baseball. I also really like how tactical they make baseball feel. There's something really satisfying about watching the mind games that the pitcher and catcher are able to get up to. Overall, both Haikyuu and Ace of Diamond are great anime. But what if you want something a bit more shonen-like? What if you want some every man for themselves cutthroat action? Well, then you should check out Blue Lock.
俺もストライカーだ。
Blue Lock is a recent anime that follows Yuichi Gisagi as he joins the Blue Lock program that was made to take some of the most promising youth of Japan and turn one of them into a world-class striker. What makes the show so much fun is that if you lose, you're out. If you don't pass the challenges, not only do you not get to keep playing soccer at Blue Lock, but you can never play for the Japan national team. That adds a lot of suspense that other sports anime is lacking. Also, while your favorite characters might be on a team, in the end, they're in it for themselves, which leads to some interesting dynamics and betrayals. If you want a fresh take on sports anime, try this show out. As for my last two recommendations, they're both boxing anime. First off is the more shonen-like show, Megalobox. Made as a more futuristic tribute of the manga Ashita no Joe, Megalobox follows our main character, Gearless Joe. But why is he called Gearless, you might ask? Well, because in this world, boxing is done with mechanical exoskeleton arms called gear that pack a lot more punch. Basically, imagine that the guy who's about to hit you with a mean right hook also has a lawnmower engine strapped to his shoulder. Joe, however, does not use gear, at first as a way to market himself, and in the end, just because he likes it. It's a great show, it's a great story, and it has fun fights and fun characters. Finally, I want to suggest another personal favorite of mine, Hajime no Ippo. Which follows our main character, Makunoichi Ippo, as he tries to become the featherweight champion of Japan and possibly the world. This is an anime you want to watch before you work out, as it will get you energized and ready to go. It's also just a great anime if you like watching powerful punches and great characters. It's one of those shows I just don't know how to describe. I just fell in love with it. And those are my recommendations. But that's not the end of sports anime. There are tons I haven't watched and some I really want to watch, such as Awashi, which is a more traditional soccer anime, or Slam Dunk and Kuroko's Basketball, which are both, of course, basketball animes. I think this is a genre that gets slept on a lot of the time, but if you like watching some good teamwork and fun action, try one of these shows out. Even if sports just aren't your thing, give it a try. You never know. Maybe it'll be what makes you go down to the gym or join a club. Either way, I'm Nick McEwen, and thanks for tuning in.